Hey there, hello, and welcome to day 159, 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tomlins Nyback. We're here talking about black issues in America, how we get along, um, how we live here in this country of great wealth and opulence, and if there are problems, are there remedies? If there's no problem, what is my motivation? Listen, two thoughts emerge as I continue this project. First thought is for the black mind in America. Is it still a slave mind? Is it a mind of slavery, conditioned over hundreds of years, um, so conditioned that it can't even turn and see itself to see uh, where it's at? Is there a blind spot in the black psyche? Um, if there is, how does one shake themselves out of this oppressed spirit, and that's a tough sell, right? Because black people have so many rights and there's protections. We have hate crime laws now. Apparently, ease of access to systems, and we can aspire. We can move about relatively freely. I do, right? As long as we keep our nose clean in the system, right? So those are some of the things we're trying to tease out here. Um, I don't want to be explicit with a whole lot of it, but we look at different scenarios, paradigms, history, a lot of things, economics, politics, to see where the black mind may be in all that. Kind of as a reflection. Uh, Other side of the same coin about the mind is does the white mind uh, continue on in privilege, expectation of favor in this system. I mean, think uh, it's a white European system created by whites, influenced by whites, favors whites. It's administered by whites, blah 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 by whites, so on and so forth. All right, so that's some of the things we need to think about. Second is financial literacy. There's all kinds of literacy. You can have political literacy, real estate literacy, a lot of literacy, but the biggest one, the one that's going to give us some foundation, is financial literacy, understanding terms, how money works, where it's going. It just maybe, not to be, have a doctorate in macroeconomics, international monetary policy, not to be well versed in all that, uh, but to understand some simpler terms. I'm helping out. Uh, I feel like the universe is like surrounding me with a lot of white people, right? This is not a hate channel, right? Remember that, not a hate channel. So I've got a lot of white influence in my life, and they readily talk about their financial maneuvers. That stuff, it's mind blowing to me. Stuff that black folks don't talk about. Black folks don't talk about it, probably because they don't have a financial literacy to back it up. Remember, I've talked about this a few times. My father died, left me a chunk of money. His then wife, I guess they're still married. You know, well, I don't know, till death do us part, but I forget about that part. But she's administering his estate, and it's not even like in black terms. It's not. We don't call it the estate. There's just papers, and we've got to deal with them. White folks would say their estate, and they're all kinds of financial terms, right? But anyway, he did leave me, a little piece of money. Would have been nice to have some conversations. I wouldn't have bumped him off or poisoned him early, like ancient Rome or something, But wow, Dad, we could have had a conversation, and your son would have been prepared. He had it was a great opportunity. I wasn't literate. I wasn't financially literate, so I couldn't take advantage of it. Hindsight, I would have reinvested that money and let it grow. But it was he had it in a complicated financial space in another country, and it just got landed on me. I wasn't in a right space to handle that. His wife had no conversation about it. Financial literacy. Listen, if you're watching this video today, 159th episode, if you're black, talk to your children beyond setting up a bank account. This is YouTube. Just Google financial terms and just start looking at it, see some options, learn about living trust, land trust, uh, business entities, things like that. You may be sitting on an opportunity. See, white folks know they have layers and barriers and passive income out the wazoo. Those are very limited experiences for black folks, and I wish it was the norm as it is normal for white folks. We're missing out so much. So anyway, financial literacy, what maybe later in the year, we'll get to maybe some specifics um, about that. Just a little fundamental so you know what you're talking about, know what you're looking at, your disposable income and whatnot. I just got a bonus from unused paid time off at my job, and I'm going to treat myself, forced to get some sustainable materials. I'm a musician, and I'm starting to become interested again. So I'm going to get some sustainable things for my aspirations and like that. Financial literacy. Think about that. Now, I'm inspired by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. I've read 3 of his works. If I want you to get his works and look at his videos. If you only get one of his books, get this, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Very good, nice cross-section, excellent arguments. He's researched history, politics, slavery, economics, all those things are in that text. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. We reference these books. We're going to do Uncle Tom's Cabin Part 2 of Chapter 16, but after this, we're going to return to, still wading through the very real issues about blackness and race in America. And finally, Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. Now, those texts, they might be a little dated, but the issue is very relevant, and it's probably even more imperative in light of the apparent peace under which black folks may live. Now, I say that kind of for myself. Prior to starting this project, I was very much immersed, rubbing shoulders in with depressed people, not sad people, but economically homelessness and stuff. I have a drug, alcohol history, things like that. So I've got a little bit of time of reprieve, so I've been obligated, compelled to be in those environments, which is good, So sometimes it's hard to stay motivated and active about these issues when my life is so well, right? But we can't be we can't be fooled. We can't be lulled into a false sense of security here. Racism still alive and well and comes at us even in light of apparent peace and ease in life. It's still very much a part. This man, I wonder what was his motivation for even doing this work. He's helped presidents get elected, been involved with the education in 3 states, traveled abroad, has international friends. You know, I'm amazed that he's taking the time out to do this. But I'm glad because it helped me mentally and spiritually. Oh, behind me you'll see a hashtag us too. This is Black women coming together, supporting one another. Check out Black and Up, BLAGGENUF, kind of a Black Facebook. If you found me here, look on around on the web. You'll find your flavor or community. If you can't, then you do what I did. Start your own. And finally, we are in Uncle Tom's Cabin. And this is a nice annotated text that I'm working out of. Well, it looks like about halfway through. Chapter 16, Part 2. And so get that work. And it's a fictional account of life of a slave, a lot of slaves and masters, characters. Harriet Beecher Stowe's phenomenal work. Mid-1800s was when these offerings were compiled. They were a series of articles in an abolitionist newspaper. All right, so we left off. There's been a discussion, and we'll get more intimate with Augustine St. Clair, his wife Marie, St. Clair's cousin Ophelia, little Eva. Tom is introduced to the plantation. A lot of good, interesting things come out. Note they went. What happened was Eva and her father went up north to get Ophelia. On the way back, Eva fell off the boat. Tom saved her. Okay, and so they didn't come back expecting to pick up a slave on the way, but life just goes like that, right? Okay, so Eva has laughed and catches St. Clair's attention. He's probably doing whatever, he's disappointed in his marriage choice. So he thanks God that little Eva has appeared in the world to assuage some of the tensions that St. Clair has with his wife Marie. He looks out, and Eva and Tom just are inseparable. From he saves her life. She has this empathetic spirit. Tom is humble, safe, proper, and things like that. These two just get along all too well. So she has decorated Tom. They're sitting out in the garden. She has decorated Tom with flowers from the garden. Tom is her little toy now. And so they enjoy it. Tom submits. He's not resistant. He's just the little white child master decides to decorate him, and he just goes along with it. There's a commercial doing its cycle now. The father, the white father, white daughter, and he's just watching sports or something, but she's taken upon herself to put makeup on his face, so he's all lipstick and stuff, right? So he's just allows her, and this is what's happening between Tom and Eva. She's just having her way, and Tom's like, yeah, whatever, right? I've been there. Little kids come around, and what are you gonna do, right? What can you do? Ophelia has some trepidation about it. Now, this is something I mentioned a little bit about, the North and South, but the North has its level of racism in that it's racism and oppression, in that there's still a separation between black and white. The North isn't some melting pot of this freedom. There's still separation. Just slavery is not legal in the North. And that doesn't mean that the nature of the relationship between white and black people is any different from the South. Keep that in mind. Ophelia's true nature on that subject comes out. She's seeing this intimacy of a little white girl alone with a black man in the garden, things like that. And this agitates some of her sensibilities. And St. Clair challenges her on those issues. You know, I take time. Some nights I have to walk a distance to my work because public transportation just doesn't work for you the way you want. So I'll go through these white neighborhoods and I'll see the banners and the rainbows, LGBTQ and stuff. I'll see Black Lives Matter placards on the lawns and things like that. But it always makes me wonder how intimate they are with that. Are black people running in and out of their home? Do Black lives matter that much, right? Uh, or is it just another, a superficial thing? How intimate is this Black Lives Matter issue with the white inhabitants, of that space? I wonder. I don't know, but I wonder about that. Uh, so St. Clair points out to Ophelia that Tom's Eva's hero and Tom's spiritual light. Tom's very spiritual, pious, devout, and it's easily apparent that bubbles over. He's just he's committed to Jesus and what he's read in the Bible or heard read to him. Um, so Eva eventually drafts Tom as her personal assistant. She has to get permission from her father, St. Clair. It's not a problem. St. Clair can't refuse his daughter anything. He's at the mercy of Eva's wishes. She wants to buy Tom. St. Clair buys Tom. She wants Tom as personal assistant. Tom's the personal assistant. Attendant. Now this calls for Tom. Always going to be well dressed. He can't smell like animals, so He's not acquainted. He's not very much a part of the manual labor on the plantation. He gets a reprieve. He gets a supervisory role in the management of the horses, the team carriages, and things like that. He's kind of a supervisor, overseer of um, activity on the plantation. His gifts are there. He knows how to run things. She doesn't shy away from leadership, and it comes to him naturally. So, in that light, St. Clair demands that he not be dirty. Obviously, so he has to be sober. Not a problem for Tom. Tom's a teetotaler, well dressed, well mannered, all the time. If you want to see what this looks like, now this is the 1800s, and so movies haven't come along just yet. But this book, this scenario, you're going to hear this more than once, informs a relationship between a little white girl way back named Shirley Temple and a black man tap dancer named Bojangles. I forget his first name, but you know, uh, YouTube, Google some video, and you'll see uh, some of this chemistry realized on the silver screen. It's nice, Mr. Bojangles, very well dressed, clean, nice hair, not like me. I think he's clean shaven, no facial hair, and she's there, little blonde, or was she a redhead? Yeah, I forget. I gotta look at the videos more. Um, it's a little white girl and stuff. So that kind of chemistry, and you can see it. I believe it is directly informed from this dynamic, this relationship between Eva and Uncle Tom. He's always clean. He's always dressed. And he's on call. He doesn't have set hours. If she wants to do something, and you can imagine, because of the nature of their relationship, that it's very clear and apparent that um, that's the way it's going to be. She, Eva's, it's interesting. She's not a spoiled child by any means, but you know, but she's one of those. You can tell she has a great spirit because she can handle all these privileges and not be spoiled by it. So she's mature beyond her years as well. I think is what Harriet Beecher Stowe is trying to communicate through the Eva character. More spiritual license from Harriet Beecher Stowe to try to say how, oh, the Africans that are brought over, they're suffering now, but they're going to have a reward in heaven. And try to remember white religion ran generally something like this. I won't say specifically, but generally, white people are in control here, and when they get in heaven, it's all great and gravy. It's really not a whole lot different going on. For the black folks, they are suffering here, and it's not a role reversal in heaven. It's just a kind of an expansion of equalization, But that is how the white folks communicate some of the religious aspects, and Harriet Beecher Stowe does the same thing. This is as kind of a betrayal. They're abolitionists, but I was under the impression, right, that these abolitionists want to make a big melting pot, be all inclusive, but that's just not the case. Since I started this project, reading this novel, doing the research, north and south, and it's not a fairy tale Disneyland. I mentioned, I think yesterday, Dr. King, when he was kind of at the height of his civil rights career, went up north of Chicago. I think that Chicago was where he was hitting the head with a brick. I think. Got to do a fact check on that anyway, but the response to him and the crew was so negative up there that he comments that the South should come up north to learn how to hate. Now that's pretty huge. You got lynching, burnings, burning people alive, sacking communities and stuff. And Dr. King says, these people should come up north to learn how to hate. So we got to take this abolitionist idea and thought with a grain of salt. They're not inviting us into their homes, into their families, and all this stuff. In general, I think the white people I'm surrounded by, well, actually, I've been in their homes many times and stuff like that. But I think in general, you're not going to be welcomed by the majority of white community in America. It goes on, get to some Marie's piety. Now she's been laying around complaining, headaches for 6 days, but Sundays She gets very pious, very clean. The text mentions she's very thin. She's a very lovely woman, right? And all this. But Sundays, she's going to be very pious. Mammy, Marie's personal attendant, still has frequent headaches. Mammy's under some stress and pressure. She's separated from her husband, separated from her children, ministering to this stone of a woman in Marie, and it's got to be oppressive to Mammy to be in this situation. You think about the slave just at the mercy, you know, you know, no vacations and stuff like that. Unless you are in close proximity to the people you're separated from, it's all as lost, you know. And this may be an opportunity for Mammy to seek out Tom's wisdom, because Tom's coping mechanism is the Lord, is religion and stuff like that. Mammy seems as though she doesn't have those roots and anchors, for her to navigate through the situation. She's stuck on a jag of care for her immediate family that she's been separated from. Eva, in her empathetic way, gives Mammy some smelling salts for her head and all that. Marie is livid and demands that Eva get it back. St. Clare intercedes. He's always interceding. He's a peacemaker and stuff. And it's Eva's way. So he's going to be on Eva's side for all this stuff. Religion and slavery conversation is pretty old. Old Testament is rife with the slavery, and so it's about Exodus and all this stuff. In the New Testament, we still have slavery mentioned and stuff like that. And they're trying to wiggle around. Harriet Beecher Stowe is having trouble with it. The characters are having trouble with it. About all this abject suffering and poverty, and how it corresponds with all this white opulence, privilege, and favor, right? And injecting religion and God into that conversation. Boy, I tell you, you probably had some people dancing around. A lot of their own landmines in their psyche to get around this on both sides, slaves and masters. The chapter wraps up. We find out that Eva spends much time with Tom. She's been in Tom's room listening to him sing. He spends time singing and all that. And the text doesn't stress any kind of supervision. It's a perfect, innocent relationship that is very healthy as well. So Tom sings hymns and stuff, and Eva is enraptured by it. I'm sure his voice, the way he sings out, and he's very expressive, probably, and charismatic. She loves it, and she remember we're finding out that she's has this affinity for the spirit, things of the spirit. Entice her. I'm studying philosophy. So things that how relationships work, ways people think. Really intrigue me. I like to listen. I love learning and things like that. So Eva's enraptured. She hears, the things in her Bible, motifs and themes being sung by Tom, what a bonus she's feeling about that. Now, in exchange, she reads Tom the Bible. So these two are spending a lot of time together. It would probably not do in 2019, but this is acceptable. This is pure. This is good. And it's so sad we've gotten away from our innocence around some of these things. St. Clare, the father is not worried. He has actually overheard Tom in a pious prayer, and he even overhears Tom tells Jesus to work on St. Clare. That kind of authenticates the prayer, because the women, when St. Clare relates this story to the women, they say, well, some of the slaves are faking it, and they do that to be heard and seen praying. But Tom's criticism of his master to God validates the whole thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're just moving right along the story. I love the pace, and I can't wait to see what we're going to get into next in this life of Tom. Seems to be Harriet Beecher Stowe is starting to bring out more of this relationship between Eva and Tom, and we're going to find out what's going to happen in the near future. So stick with me. We're going to spend a couple days getting into some weighty subjects here with Dr. Anderson, maybe some other things coming up, but in a couple days we'll get back to story time. I'm Tomlin's back. That's 365 days towards racial change, day 159. Out of the way. I'll see you tomorrow.